After a long hiatus, tvOS today is back. WWDC is over for another year, and it felt like no better time to return than now. There were so many exciting software announcements this week across all of Apple's platforms, but here's what Apple announced for tvOS 12 and Apple TV. Apple TV 4K is a success. It's been pretty evident that Apple TV 4K has been viewed as a success since launching last September. Tim Cook announced that Apple TV business grew 50% in that time, and there's little doubt that's in large part thanks to Apple's unrivaled volume of available 4K titles, as well as Apple's free 4K upgrade program for your previously purchased HD iTunes movies, giving not only increased blockbuster resolution, but an increased dynamic range of colours, courtesy of HDR10 and Dolby Vision technologies, once only reserved for the silver screen. Dolby Atmos. Replicating the cinematic experience at home, visuals are just part of the story. Apple TV 4K is now the first box to be given both Dolby Vision and now Dolby Atmos certification, meaning much like how eligible movie purchases upgrade to 4K, you'll also now hear an audio upgrade, courtesy of Dolby Atmos, when tvOS 12 launches later this year, and when the Dolby Atmos content trickles out to the iTunes movie store. So how does Dolby Atmos work? Well, in stereo, streams of sound are created in 2 channels. Surround sound enhanced audio by creating up to 5 or 7 channels for a richer experience, but Dolby Atmos frees sound from separate channels and as a result envelops you in a wall of 3D sound, allowing for truly atmospheric immersion, with greater flexibility for better sound design. To experience Dolby Atmos, you'll need a compatible Atmos AV receiver, as well as in-ceiling speakers or upward-firing speakers, in addition to your 5.1 or 7.1 surround setup. Now, if that all sounds a little overkill, there are also Dolby Atmos soundbars available. But with no specific manufacturers mentioned on stage, I wouldn't put it past Apple to release a compatible HomePod-esque Atmos soundbar in the near future. Apple are replacing the cable box. With so many options these days for cord cutters, cable and satellite companies are having to re-evaluate how they deliver their services in today's market, whilst maximising their reach and eliminating potential barriers of entry to new customers. Thankfully, service providers are finally starting to take note. Canal+ in France recently gave their customers the option to access their services exclusively through Apple TV, and Charter Spectrum customers in the US will soon be able to follow suit by cutting the traditional cable box and the hardware rental fees that come with it, instead opting to use their Apple TV to access live channels and on-demand content. Will Comcast and Sky give up control to Apple and join in this little revolution? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Zero sign-on. Last year, Apple solved the problem of having to sign into every app individually in order to access the content you're paying for via Apple TV. Single sign-on worked by simply prompting you to enter your cable service credentials that one time when setting up your Apple TV. Rolling out to Charter Spectrum customers, the new Zero Sign-On feature allows your Apple TV to magically auto-detect your TV subscriptions through your home network connection, taking care of everything for you, assuming, of course, that you get your television and network connection from the same provider. Password Autofill. For separate services like Netflix, Password Autofill will be a very welcome addition to Apple TV users. Introduced to iOS 11 last year, Password Autofill saved your login credentials to your iCloud keychain, encouraging you to create unique complex passwords without having to worry about remembering them. tvOS 12 sees Password Autofill come to Apple TV. When using the Apple TV Remote app on iOS, you'll have access to its continuity keyboard, making password and account entry a doddle. You'll need to be signed in on the same iCloud account on both Apple TV and iOS, which begs the question, what if you're a guest? Well, guests can also sign in, even if they've never used your Apple TV before. They simply enter the authentication code to connect to the Apple TV and once on a specific app's logon screen, their iOS device will offer to autofill their login credentials. Of course, in the past, every iOS device in the room would be prompted to sign in, but in tvOS 12, only the nearest device detected by your Apple TV's Siri remote will get that prompt, and I think that's magic. Remotes. In addition to auto adding the Apple TV Remote Control Center on iOS for Apple TV users, Apple announced that they're working with high-end home control specialists such as Crestron, Savant and Control 4 for Apple TV and Siri compatibility. That announcement was followed later in the week by the long-awaited addition of remotes to HomeKit's accessory category lineup, showing a small shift when it comes to Apple's walled garden approach to Siri functionality. Whilst I personally love the Siri remote, it's nice to have options, and fingers are crossed, Homebridge and hacked together unofficial Harmony remote support will soon be a thing of the past. Aerials. It's come that time in the video where I've got a confession to make. When I'm not watching or playing something on Apple TV, I'm still mesmerised by its aerial screensavers. Honestly, that Hawaii screensaver has probably had more watch time than any of my failed attempts at binging Westworld at this point. Now though, not only can you swipe between aerials, you can tap the Siri remote's trackpad to see where that beautiful photography was shot. Also added to aerial screensavers in tvOS 12 comes this jaw-dropping look at our beautiful planet. Created in partnership with the International Space Station and International Space Station National Lab in Kansas, this view of planet Earth will no doubt become my default for many, many years to come. There are also nods to Replay Kit coming to tvOS, as well as the possibility of Siri Shortcuts eventually rolling out to our beloved box, but these were my favourite features announced for tvOS during WWDC 2018. Now I want to hear from you. What were your favourite tvOS announcements, and what was that one feature you really hoped would come to Apple TV, but didn't? Let me know in the comments below. I've been Sig, thanks for watching, and for more Apple TV tips, news and reviews, stay tuned to tvOS Today.